Chapter 9. Options. Customizing the application. The options dialog. There are a number of application and schematic level options/features that you can change in order to make the software work the way you want it to. You can get at these by going to the options menu and selecting one of the 6 categories under which the various parameters are organized. Application. These options apply to features and settings that apply at application level. Startup options. By default, the software will load up the example file that ships with the software. This is fine when you first start looking at the software, but once you begin making your own creations, this behavior becomes undesirable. Thankfully, you can switch this off. You can choose between the software launching with a blank schematic, the fastest way to load up, or the schematic that you were working on last time you closed down. Most recent file list. The most recently used schematics are shown at the bottom of the file menu for rapid access. The default size of this list is 4 items, but you can choose to have up to 16 schematics displayed. You can also choose to clear the recently used file list by clicking the Clear List button. Auto Recovery. Auto Recovery is a handy little feature that saves a copy of your schematic periodically so that if your session should suddenly be closed down due to a crash or loss of power, you won't lose your work. Instead, when you next launch SynthMaker, the file you were editing will be recovered based on the state when they were last saved. You can switch auto recovery on and off at any time. By default, the save period is every 5 seconds. For larger schematics, you may want to choose a longer save interval to allow for the increased save time. Automatic file compression. Schematic files are automatically compressed to keep file sizes down. With very big files that contain large amounts of image or sample data, you may find that your save times begin to increase. In these cases, you can reduce the save time by switching file compression off. Navigator. These options affect the behavior of the navigator. Performance. When you change a front panel item like a knob or a slider, this often results in values changing in other parts of your schematic. Any modules that are shown in the navigator will be updated to reflect these changes. On some PCs, this can be very slow. You can therefore choose how often the navigator updates. The default is for minimal updates, and often this is all you need. If you want to see the results of your interactions reflected in just the current module in the navigator, then choose Selective. To make the navigator update on every change, select Frequent. Navigation. Here you can choose whether the page up and page down keys move you up and down through the module hierarchy or down and up. Schematic. Mouse behavior. When drag selecting, you can choose whether components will become part of the selection once they are fully enclosed in the drag rectangle, or when they touch some part of the area covered by the drag rectangle. You can decide whether a right click brings up the standard context menu, or if moves you up to the parent when inside a module. Zoom level. The default zoom level is defined as a number of pixels. This represents the size of a single grid square, so a higher number will result in the default zoom that appears magnified. If you click Use Current, you will get the zoom level for the current module. Auto-linking. You can decide how close components have to be before the software will suggest an automatic link. You can also choose whether links are then created after a short time, or if the software waits for you to right-click to accept a suggested link. Links on top. Check this box if you want links to appear on top of components in your schematic. Applies to the schematic as a whole. Modules. Animation. You can choose whether to enable or disable module animation for when you minimize or maximize a module, or open/close the Properties panel. Properties. By default, a module's Properties panel will close as soon as you click away, provided it isn't pinned open. You can switch this off so that the properties remain open until you close them. Plugins. target folder. When you export VST plugins, they are saved to a particular folder. You can set this here. Usually the folder will be whichever folder you use for your other VST plugins. SSE/2 support. The PC on which you generate your plugins may support SSE2 or it may just support SSE. When you export a plugin, the software saves code that is optimized for the SSE capabilities of your own PC. If you then give the plugin to someone whose PC has different SSE capabilities from you, the software needs to make adjustments on loading so that the plugin will work. These adjustments can slow down the loading process. To avoid this, you can choose to include support for all SSE setups at export time. This way there is no reduction in loading speed when plugins are used on PCs with different SSE capabilities. Advanced R&D components. We will periodically offer some components on a trial basis to gather feedback or for testing. You can decide whether to show these components by checking the box. Link curvature. When you bend links, they take a curved form. You can decide how curved you want them to be, from highly curved to perfectly straight lines. Note that this affects the way that links look in any schematic you open. Code compilation. In order to increase performance, code compilation is switched off while you are typing in the code component. However, sometimes you want to be able to see the effects of your code as you type. SSE/2 support. The PC on which you create your schematics may support SSE2 or it may just support SSE. When you save a schematic, the software saves code that is optimized for the SSE capabilities of your own PC. If you then give the schematic to someone whose PC has different SSE capabilities from you, the software needs to make adjustments on loading so that the schematic will work. These adjustments can slow down the loading process. To avoid this, you can choose to include support for all SSE setups at saved time. This way there is no reduction in loading speed when schematics are used on PCs with different SSE capabilities. You only need to enable this option for schematics if you intend to distribute them. One side effect of enabling this option is that your saved times are increased. Well, that concludes the user manual for SynthMaker. Goodbye for now and thanks for watching.